Hey everybody, it's Eric from EPautos.com, your libertarian car guy. I say good morning, and Mr. T says good morning. Thought popped into my head this morning that I thought might be of interest, and hence I decided to talk about it a little bit. We're all familiar with the Republican Party, and the name of that sometimes sticks in my craw because it is the farthest thing from the party that believes in a Republican form of government. Let me explain a little bit. Go back to 1860, 1861, and particularly the election of Abraham Lincoln, who founded the Republican Party and was the first Republican president. And Abe Lincoln didn't believe in a republic very much. What he believed in was a consolidated federal empire run by a central government, a central authority that reduced the states, which were once exactly that. The word state means a sovereign country, into essentially administrative gaus. That's a German word. Administrative provinces, administrative arms, if you like, of the consolidated state with no meaningful sovereignty. That's very, very important to take into account. So I think it's an example of this world that we live in where words have been contorted to mean their opposite. If we were honest about things, the Republican Party would be the Federalist Party or the Federal Party, something like that, indicating, as it did once upon a time at the beginning of the country, the party of the people who believed in a consolidated, as they put it, vigorous central authority that essentially ran the show. The word Republican used to be something that was used by the Jeffersonians, who were ironically enough considered to be Democrats. It's very difficult sometimes to have an intelligent conversation using the words that are in currency because of the false meanings that are attached to them. I think it's very important, if we're going to have any kind of an intelligible, coherent conversation, to define carefully the meaning of the words that we choose to use, because after all, they define what we're trying to convey to people, and it makes it so that people can only respond to what they hear, and if they hear whatever the word is, they're going to respond to that rather than what the thing might actually mean. So anyway, I have something up at EPautos, or rather I will, that gets into this topic at greater length. It also gets into, as another example, of the slippery, or the malicious, I think is a better word, misusing of language, the term Civil War, which brings us back to Abe Lincoln. Now again, regardless of your position on which side in the so-called Civil War was on the right side, it was not a civil war. And I'm not just saying that as an opinion, I'm stating it as a fact. A civil war, by definition, is a state of affairs in which you have two camps, two opposing parties that are vying for control of the country. The English Civil War, for example, was exactly that. It was a civil war. But what happened in 1861, 1865, was an attempt by the Southern Confederacy, that is, the states that formed the Southern Confederacy, to secede from a union that they no longer wished to be part of. They had no design to take over the entire country, to dictate to the North how things were going to run. They just wanted to get away from the North. And the North at that time was synonymous with the federal government, because effectively the North had an electoral political lock on the federal government, and that's the primary reason, not slavery, why the Southern Confederacy was formed and why the Southern states attempted to leave. And interestingly, essentially what the Southern states tried to do was what the American colonists did successfully. We hear about the Revolutionary War. We hear about the War for Independence, which is a little closer. But it's accurate to say that what the American colonies did was to secede from their union with Great Britain. They were part of the British Empire before the decision was taken to secede from it. They didn't use that language, but that's what it was. The American colonies, which became the states, had no design to go across the ocean and to take over the United Kingdom and kick the king and parliament into the Thames River and run the place. They just wanted to run their own place and be left alone, which is essentially what the Southern Confederacy wanted. So, it's some might think it's a pedantic point, but I think it's an important point to stop using that term civil war to describe what happened in 1861, 1865 in this country, because it was no such thing. Just as I think it's important to not let slip this business of Republican in the context of Republican Party, because Republicans, in the true original meaning of that word, are not people who believe in a consolidated empire run by a central authority. They believe in a diffuse, decentralized system of government. Jefferson was a Republican. Donald Trump is not a Republican. Anyway, that's where I'll stop for now. There's more up at EPautos.com, the web's best libertarian gearhead site. You might also be interested in the review I just finished of the 2024 Audi Allroad, which is basically just a wagon version of their A4 sedan. Wagons aren't very popular in this country for some reason that I can't completely understand, because they're really neat, I think. I mean, you got something that has the usefulness, the practicality of a larger car, particularly relative to a crossover, but it's not another crossover. Aren't you sick of crossovers? If I have to deal with another crossover, I'm going to turn to drinking, because it's just become extremely difficult to come up with 2,000 words about why this crossover is different from that crossover. Somehow I always manage to do it. I guess that's my retard power. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. Again, more up at EPautos.com, the web's best libertarian gearhead site. Thanks to everybody who views, and if you like what I do, please let other people know, and we will have more for you again soon.